Hello and welcome back to the Bard Review, the perfect start to your Sunday morning here at the Barn Theatre. I'm Benjamin Collins and I'm delighted to be joined as ever by the series co-producer Aaron Sidwell. Aaron, what have we got in store for us this week?
Well, this week we're dealing with all things Italian. That's right. We're dealing with pizza and pasta, and well, maybe we'll leave that to on a plate. We are bringing you, though, some Shakespeare work from Southern Europe.
Indeed, and he wrote an awful lot of plays based in Italy, in fact. From his Roman plays to some comedies like The Merchant of Venice, which we saw in Ladies' Week, and of course some of his tragedies too were based in Italy.
And what makes that all the more incredible is that he almost would have certainly been writing these plays having never been there. I mean, that's crazy. You know, now we can Google places and have a bit of a nose, but back then he would have just been writing off of hearsay about what people told him or the rumors of what Italy was like. And he wrote with such details. That's just, mind blowing, really. So I hope you've got a limoncello ready, audience members. Although if you do, I'm a little bit worried because it's 9:30 on a Sunday morning, as we are about to head off to Verona with some of our first guests.
We are delighted to welcome to the show Esme Cook and the incredible director, of course, John Greening. Guys, how are you both?
Very well, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Wish I was working.
Well, John, you and I actually go way back to my first stint on EastEnders, all that
God, I know.
all that long time ago, and I'm so grateful that you could join us on this.
I'm so thrilled to be asked. Blimey,
I
don't do Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. We've had loads of theatre directors working on this who don't work so often with camera. But obviously for you, this is the other way around. You're really used to working with camera, but not so much with Shakespeare. So in these bizarre kind of crazy circumstances that we're in, how did you find this experience working this way?
I'm really missing the physicality, and I'm sure that's the same for everybody. It's doing stuff in isolation is very, very interesting, but the fact that you can't actually touch things, people, hold them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm a touchy-feely kind of director, but it's just very, very strange to be so distanced. But at the same time, what it forced you to think about was, how do I make people respond and think about what they're doing from a distance? Normally stuff comes up in just, well, it's not called a play for nothing, is it? It's playing. What we do is playing to a certain extent, but to kind of go, oh, how do we from remotely push each other's buttons? and what, I did do English at university, so I've got a bit of a Shakespeare thing, and I live if you looked out of my window now, I live 5 miles away from the RSC in Stratford. So it's in my DNA somehow, Shakespeare, as it is all of us. But it's just like, how do we think about what it means now to do a little bit of the play we were doing, but also how do we interact in a completely different way? It was very interesting. And it's kind of, I remember I worked with a director called Peter James, and he said to a very old actor who was a bit shocked by it, he said, I'm only the director. The guy was really looking for help, and he said, I'm only the director. You think about what you might want to do, and from your experiences on EastEnders, for example, you've got to make a lot of decisions before you ever because there's just no time to think about what you might do, to think you have to come with a plan. And I think it was interesting to make people try and, I tell you what could we do with this? What can we, here's our little bit of Two Gentlemen of Verona. How are we going to make it physical, really, I suppose, is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun to present people with the challenge and then watch their creativity just completely take over.
Well, I wanted to throw a follow-up question in there, or a follow-up point. Obviously, what everyone says is that if Shakespeare was writing today, he would be writing for EastEnders. So
Yeah,
it is in all of our DNA somehow.
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I was going to ask you, Esme, how was it for you to work with John and Amira on this project? And I mean, were you familiar with this play coming into it?
Yeah, so funnily enough, Two Gentlemen of Verona and Julia is kind of my go-to drama school Shakespeare speech, I guess. So I picked up and I was like, yeah, no, I know this one, but actually, I mean, don't tell on me, but I never read the whole, got through the whole play when I did it. I was like, okay, yeah, that monologue works. I'd read the relevant bits up to where that happened and then was like, it carries on like this for a while. And I think me and Amira, Amira suggested doing this excerpt, and like immediately it was like, well, yeah, this bit works. It's got the kind of like Julia trying to escape, Lucetta being like, you probably shouldn't, like it does really work for this setting. And we read it through and it was like there was no issue with it straight away, and we just kind of stuck to that scene specifically. And Amira was fab, and obviously John was fab as well, and we kind of drip fed it really, didn't we? We just did like fairly regular meetings once or twice a week, in little stints, kind of coming back when we had new ideas, sending across some like trial shots, locations, because obviously we were all doing it at home, and I was with my parents then. And I've just graduated. This has been my graduating term from Bristol Theatre School, and so I had classes as well. So it's kind of alongside all of that. And yeah, Amira took on the brunt of the work by taking on Julia, which has all the blah blah blah, chatter, and she was absolutely brilliant. And her shot involved her having to kind of basically do very plotted things all in one take, essentially, whereas I'd kept mine like in one spot. I was just, making bread, classic lockdown activity. So I was making my sourdough. So mine was way more straightforward than Amira, who was kind of like running all over the place, chucking stuff about. And we had to set it up so that we'd do it live, so that we were both doing it together at the same time when we recorded it. But so we had each other on Zoom to check that we had everything set up okay. We were then voice calling each other on WhatsApp, so we had the audio coming through of each other speaking, and we were filming ourselves. So we just everything kind of set up all around the space, and then like continuity. It was literally like Big Brother, completely stuck in this one room, like, oh my God, and now I've forgotten what I did to me. And it makes you appreciate everyone in those production teams, because you're like, I know I've got some continuity blips. Pretty sure Amira probably feels the same. It's just like, it's such a team. See, like that, completely technologically incapable. Such a team effort. I know, God, I need someone. But then doing everything by yourself, you just kind of realise how reliant you are usually on everyone else doing their own job, and you just doing yours rather than, trying to fill in.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's, unforeseen circumstances, unusual, but it sounds like you guys sort of had a really organic approach, and sort of, it all fell together, and that's really awesome to hear.
Well, it was just felt like, what do you want to do with it? Right. I'm just like a bit of a conduit, really. I can just make suggestions from this far away. What, how can we make this not, we'd seen a lot of, the sort of, the kind of straight to camera monologue thing with your phone, I can kind of get. But when you've got two people interacting, it throws it in a different way. Yeah. And so it seemed to me the question was always to ask both of them, what would you do in these? You can't just sit there and talk to your phone. It's what can we do?
That was season one. Series one.
Yeah.
well, that's the problem, is that you got to kind of think, what can we do to, I'm sure.
But even then with series one, I was so keen. I've seen those videos. I've seen the you know, just straight down the camera lens, giving it full, you know, Shakespeare voice and all the rest of it. And
But
you know what I really wanted
like
was
Talking
for
Heads,
people
it can
to-
be fantastic.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's fantastic, and it's Shakespeare, so it doesn't need embroidering particularly. But as soon as you've got two people interacting, but where they would be together on stage, you've got to think, well, what circumstances can we put them in where this is a natural conversation to be had on a phone rather than face to face?
Right, well, with that, we will go straight to the video. So this right now is Esme Cook and Amira Challenger in The Two Gentlemen of Verona, directed by John Greening.
Lucetta! Oh, gentle girl. Assist me! Oh. I do conjure thee, who art the table wherein all my thoughts are visibly charactered and engraved, to lesson me and tell me some good mean how, with my honour, I may undertake a journey to my loving Proteus.
Alas, the way is wearisome and long.
A true devoted pilgrim is not weary to measure kingdoms with his feeble steps, much less shall she that hath love's wings to fly. And when the flight is made to one so dear, of such divine protection as Sir Proteus.
Better forbear till Proteus make return.
Oh, know'st thou not his looks are my soul's food? Pity the dearth that I have pined in by longing for that food so long a time. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love, thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words.
I do not seek to quench your love's hot fire, but qualify the fire's extreme rage lest it should burn above the bounds of reason.
The more thou damps it up, the more it burns!
The current, that with gentle murmur glides, thou know'st being stopped impatiently doth rage. But, when his fair course is not hindered, he makes sweet music with the enamelled stones. Then let me go, and hinder not my course. I'll be as patient as a gentle stream, and make a pastime of each weary step, till the last step hath brought me to my love.
But in what habit will you go along?
Not like a woman, for I would prevent the loose encounters of lascivious men. Gentle Lucetta, fit me with such weeds as may beseem some well-reputed page.
Why then your ladyship must cut your hair.
No! Go!
I'll knit it up in silken strings with 20 odd conceited true love's knots. To be fantastic may become a youth of greater time than I shall show to be.
In what fashion, madam, shall I make your breeches?
Lucetta, as thou lovest me,
Let me have what thou thinkst meet and is most mannerly. Oh. But tell me, wench, how will the world repute me for undertaking so unstead a journey?
I fear it will make me scandalised.
If you think so, then stay at home and go not.
Nay, that I will not.
Then never dream on infamy, but go. If Proteus like your journey when you come, no matter who's displeased when you are gone. I fear me he will scarce be pleased with all.
That is the least, Lucetta, of my fears. 1,000 oaths, An ocean of his tears and instances of infinite love warrant me welcome to my Proteus.
All these are servants to deceitful men.
Base men that use them to sow base effect. But truer stars did govern Proteus' birth. His words are bonds, his oaths oracles, his love sincere, his thoughts immaculate, his tears pure messengers from his heart as far from fraud as heaven from earth.
I pray heaven he prove so when you come to him.
Now as thou lovest me, do him not that wrong to bear a hard opinion of his truth. Only deserve my love by loving him, and presently go with me to my chamber to take a note of what I stand in need of to furnish me upon my longing journey.
We are now joined by Joshua Griffin, who earlier this week we saw in Julius Caesar alongside Joe Frost. Joshua, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Joshua, the concept for the video is quite unlike anything we've seen before. I think the editor of this literally jumped for joy at the sight of it. How did it come about?
So when we first read the script, we sort of looked at, we were talking about loads of different themes. And to begin with, we sort of started with a completely different concept. We were sort of looking at something a lot darker, obviously because we're sort of going with the restriction of isolation. So we were looking at that. And then, we recorded it and we thought, maybe we'll do something the opposite end of the spectrum and sort of make it a bit more playful. Because we wanted to get the energy of the language, but in a way that didn't seem forced on camera, if you know what I mean. So we came up with the idea of them being two gamers online. And that sort of seemed to fit really nicely with the language. It sort of allowed us to sort of be very explosive and sort of jump everywhere. So it was fun. It was mostly just for it being very fun. So we sort of came up with that idea in the last second.
There's a certain sort of insight into people or humanity when you see them playing FIFA, you know?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right, we'll go straight into it. This is Joe Frost and Joshua Griffin in Julius Caesar, directed by Richard Neal.
You have wronged me doth appear in this. You have condemned and noted Lucius Power for taking bribes here of the Sardines, wherein my letters praying on his side because I knew the man were slighted off.
You wronged yourself to write in such a case.
Such a time as this, it is not meet that every nice offence should bear his comment.
Let me tell you, Cassius, you yourself are much condemned to have an itching palm, to sell and mark your offices for gold to undeservers.
Aye, an itching palm! You know that you are Brutus that speak this, or, by the gods, this speech well shall last.
The name of Cassius honours this corruption and chastisement, but therefore hide his head.
Chastisement!
From the march? The eyes of March, remember. Did not great Julius bleed for justice' sake? What villain touched his body that did stab and not the justice? What shall one of us that struck the foremost man of all this world, but for supporting robbers, shall we now contaminate our fingers with base bribes? I'd rather be a dog and bathe in such a Roman!
You forget yourself! To edge me in. I am a soldier, older in practice, abler than yourself to make conditions.
Virtue, you are not Cassius.
I am.
I say you are not.
Urge me no more, I shall forget myself. Have mind upon your health.
A waste-like man.
It's possible.
You say you are a better soldier. Let it appear so. Make your wanting true.
You wrong me every way. You wrong me, Brutus. I said an elder soldier, not a better. Do not presume too much upon my life. I shall be sorry for.
You have done that. You should be sorry for. I did send to you for certain sums of gold to pay my legions, which you denied me.
I denied you not.
You did.
I did not. It was but fool that brought my answer back. A friend should bear his friend's infirmities, but Brutus makes mine greater than they are.
I do not do you practice them on me.
A friendly eye could never see such faults.
What we don't do when you will, we shall have stone. Do what you will, this honour shall be humour.
Brutus!
What's the matter?
Have you not love enough to bear with me when that rash human that's my mother gave me makes me forgetful?
Yes. And from henceforth, when you are over earnest with your Brutus, he'll think your mother chides and leave you so.
Fionn Jolly, Mark Milligan, welcome to the show. How are you both?
Very well. Thank you. Yeah,
Good to
very
hear.
well.
Guys, Titus Andronicus is a really tricky play, so I do apologise. Like a lot of Shakespeare's Roman plays, it's insanely tragic. How did you guys find working on this? Fionn, I'll throw it to you first.
Well, that was my big issue with when we kind of got gifted Titus Andronicus. There's a lot of plot, there's a lot of gore, and there's an awful lot of stuff which, if you're doing it in your bedroom on a phone camera, presents a number of interesting creative challenges. Not problems, creative challenges, which I think given the lockdown thing, it was quite nice to play with that idea of actually coming into contact with somebody, because with so much of the Titus stuff, it's about the physical violence and this, that, and the other. And so the idea of violence was something we definitely thought was going to happen, was something that we wanted to play with. But within that lockdown context, just going outside seems like an act of violence in itself to a certain extent. So I don't think we did too much kind of blood and gore. We didn't do any blood and gore or anything like that. How did you find it, Mark?
Yeah, I agree. And what was fun, I guess, in terms of the retelling of it, or the interpretation, that we had that kind of standoff and the tension. Obviously, I'm sort of in my mid-20s, so not Titus. So rethinking it and reimagining it, I think, was a really fun, interesting process to be a part of. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we found we had Titus in series 1, and it was very blood and gore. To the point that we had to go back a few times with the edit and kind of go, this goes out at 5 o'clock. How can we maybe tone this down? But Mark, for you, coming into an industry that's in so much kind of turmoil at the moment, how did you find the whole Bar from the Barn experience?
Well, I was just saying before, it's been really lovely to make new connections and to have the opportunity to be making and doing during what is a very odd and bizarre time, as I'm sure we've all experienced. So it's just been really lovely, a lovely opportunity to have a play around and, as I say, rethink and reimagine Shakespeare for this time. It's been great. It's been really lovely.
All right, let's take a look at Titus Andronicus, starring Fionn Jolly and Mark Milligan and directed by Jake Smith. Take a look.
Thus, in this strange and sad habiliment, I will encounter with Andronicus, and say I am revenge, sent from below to join with him and right his heinous wrongs. Knock at his study, where they say he keeps, to ruminate strange plots of dire revenge. Tell him revenge is come to join with him and work confusion on his enemies.
Who doth molest my contemplation? Is it your trick to make me ope the door, But so my sad decrees may fly away, and all my study be to no effect.
You were deceived. For what I mean to do, see there in the bloody lines I've set down, and what is written shall be executed.
Titus, I am come to talk with thee.
No, not a word. How can I grace my talk, wanting a hand to give it action? Thou hast the odds of me, therefore no more.
If thou didst know me, thou wouldst talk with me.
I am not mad. I know thee well enough. Witness this wretched stump. Witness these crimson lines. Witness these trenches made by grief and care. Witness the tiring day and heavy night. Witness all sorrow that I know thee well. For our proud empress, mighty Tamara. Is not thy coming for my other hand?
No, thou sad man. I am not Tamara. She is thy enemy, and I thy friend. I am Revenge, sent from the infernal kingdom to ease the gnawing vulture of thy mind by working wreckful vengeance on thy foes. Come down and welcome me into this world's light. Confer with me of murder and of death. There's not a hollow cave or luring place, no vast obscurity or misty veil, where bloody murder or detested rape can couch for fear, but I will find them out. And in their ears, tell them my dreadful name, Revenge, which makes the foul offenders quake.
Art thou Revenge? And art thou sent to me to be a torment to mine enemies?
I am. Therefore come down and welcome me.
We are now joined by director Sean Turner and actress Andriane Relu. How are you both? You all right?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Andriane, the other actress in your scene is an actress called Emma Drysdale, who joined us all the way from Australia, which you guys capitalised on incredibly, I've got to say, with this scene. It's so clever, the way that you worked that in. But how tricky was it for you to sort of liaise rehearsals and, you know, recording? Because obviously you're on two completely opposite time zones.
It's quite funny. We would either have to rehearse quite early in the day or really late in the evening. So when we were actually filming it, we filmed it when it was we started at about 10 p.m. UK time, and it was early morning in Australia. But because it took quite a while to film all the different takes and all the things we had to do, it ended up being quite it was still early morning in Australia, but it was we finished. It wasn't like sunrise anymore, which was like a thing we were playing with in the scene. So when she was like pointing at the sky, it was actually broad daylight, so it became quite funny in the end, I think. Yeah.
It's funny, right? I've got a question for you, Sean. It's your third episode, obviously, with us now. There must be something about this that you're enjoying. How's it been going so far, like being so involved with the project so far?
It's been great. It's been a real kind of challenge for me as a theatre director to kind of try and translate things that naturally I'm kind of used to staging and trying to create a world via film that works. So yeah, it's been a really interesting process, and I've been working with some amazing actors, especially some of the young grads. It's been excellent fun. As always, rehearsals more fun than the actual shooting of it, or the putting together the editing at the other side, which for me it's been almost a first doing any editing like this. So it's been great.
Awesome.
Amazing. Well, this is Emma Drysdale and Andriane Relu in Romeo and Juliet, directed by Sean Turner.
It was the nightingale and not the lark that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear.
Nightly she sings on yon pomegranate tree. Believe me, love, it was the nightingale.
It was the lark, the herald of the morn, no nightingale. Look, love, what envious streaks do lace the severing clouds in yonder east. Night's candles are burnt out, and jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty morning tops. I must be gone and live, or stay and die.
Yond light is not daylight. I know it. Aye, it is some meteor that the sun exhaled, to be to thee this night a torch-bearer, and light thee on thy way to Mantua. Therefore stay yet.
Thou needst not be gone.
Let me be ta'en, let me be put to death. I am content, so thou wilt say it so. I'll say yond grey is not the morning's eye, 'tis but the pale reflex of Cynthia's brow. Nor that is not the lark whose notes do beat the vaulty heaven so high above our heads. I have more care to say than will to go. Come, death, and welcome. Juliet wills it so. How is't, my soul? Let's talk. Nah, it is not day.
It is. It is. Hie hence, be gone, away. It is the lark that sings so out of tune, straining harsh discords and unpleasing sharps. Oh, now be gone. More light and light it grows.
More light and light, more dark and dark our woes. The day is broke. Be wary, look about.
Then window let day in and let life out.
Farewell. Farewell, one kiss and I'll descend.
Oh, I must hear from thee every day in the hour, for in a minute there are many days.
Farewell. I will omit no opportunity to convey my greetings, love, to thee.
Oh, think'st thou we shall ever meet again?
I doubt it not. And all our woes shall serve for sweet discourses in our times to come.
Oh, God. I have an ill-divining soul. Methinks I see thee now, thou art so low, as one dead at the bottom of a tomb. Either my eyesight fails, or thou lookest pale.
And trust me, love, in my eyes so do you. Dry sorrow drinks our blood. Adieu. Mwah! Adieu!
With us now is director Jim O'Donnell, who brought us Coriolanus earlier this week. Jim, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello, not too bad.
Jim, this is a play all about kind of political treachery, I suppose. It is to me anyway. I thought you guys really captured that well. But I think these Roman plays can be really tricky in this context. In the first series, I did Friends, Romans, Countrymen from Julius Caesar. And that's a speech in front of a crowd of people who he's responding to and whipping them up. And so it can be, it's just got its difficulties. But how did you guys find working on Coriolanus and putting it into this context?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big issue for any updating of any of these plays is that you've got history. You've got 2,000 years of history in between you and the original text and when it was set, and so you really do need a leap of imagination. And the way that we approached this particular play, this particular short film, was to say, well, what would happen if they were locked down now? How would Aufidius approach, or how would Coriolanus approach Aufidius, which happens in the play? And it seemed, I think probably because in the zeitgeist that everybody is on Zoom almost constantly. I spend my days on Zoom. I live on Zoom. So it really was, that seemed to be the likely way of him approaching Aufidius in the script, and so then you take out the historical aspect of it because it is about what happens now in this lockdown period,
All right, well, let's see the results for the first time. This is Eddie Eyre and Ciara Wright in Coriolanus, directed by the brilliant James O'Donnell. Thanks.
Spare me only that name.
What's coming up for you next week as we delve back in time with a little bit of, biased at times, history lesson courtesy of Big Bill.
Hence, home, you idle creatures, get you home. Is this a holiday? What? Oh no, you're not being mechanical. You ought not walk upon a labouring day without what sign of your profession.
The violet smells to him as it does to me. The element shows to him as it does to me. All his senses have but human conditions.
Wherefore do you droop? Why look you sad?
Indeed, I've been merrier.
Where is the blood that I have seen inhabiting those cheeks?
For all the world now by my sceptre and my soul to boot, Hotspur hath more worthy interest to the state than thou, the shadow of succession.
Fetch hither Richard, that in common view they may surrender, so we shall proceed without suspicion.
Well, that was your preview of History Week. We will see you next week, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday at 9:30 a.m. for your next Bard review.